Hello, everyone. Welcome to the analysis meeting on 2/22/22 on a Tuesday. Kind of cool. On the agenda, we have our usual check-in and then some non-analysis reminders, just the COVID protocol update, and then I'll briefly mention Kubcella. We'll talk about the February progress report, and then also talk about some new information regarding our fin shape. Then we'll introduce some new projects, including the Zenith question/data sheet, the software trade study, and some CFD projects for our new member, Nico. And then, as usual, end it off with some questions. So for the check-in, I just wanted to see if anyone has been working on any tasks. I know we kind of hit a point after our progress report, but I wanted to see your thoughts on the progress report itself, and then just a stress or mental health check-in. For me, I've mainly been focused on the progress report as usual, and I guess other treasurer/AIAA duties, trying to get some more funding for SCR as well. The progress report I thought went really well, considering it was a lot of y'all's first time completing one of them. So I appreciate all the work you put in. And my stress and mental health is, it's all right now. We'll see how it is after our FEM exam on Thursday. But yeah, I feel like I'm at a good spot and I've settled into a good routine. So surviving is how I describe it.
Sure, I can go ahead. Task progress, aside from just working on the progress report, I haven't done a whole lot. I think I'm gonna reach out to Andrew tonight. I've been thinking about whether to ask him for like a meeting or just like send him what we have. Maybe I'll just see what'll work best for him. But besides that, I think past the progress report, it's just a good idea to like look at, like you said, other parts of the market that might need, or like that would be relevant to even have an FEA of it. So I guess we'll start looking into that. Stress, mental health, it's about the same. Kind of like a consistent throughout the year. So it's like, okay. Yeah.
I can go next. Task update. I'm working on the CAD of the fins, or like kind of like a MMM design or whatever, just so I can put it in the assembly. And then I thought the progress report went pretty well. I did forget to put the figures in, so I'm gonna try and do that by the end of the night. And then stress, mental health. I'm pretty stressed out. However, I did go ahead and I quit my job on Saturday. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, I got tired of that. So I was like, I think I'm putting too much on my plate here. So I quit that so I can focus more on school. So no more bartending, and we'll see if I can maybe get another job sometime else. But at the moment, I'm jobless.
Well, good for you. I'm glad you made that decision for yourself. Anyone else want to go? If not, we'll proceed with the meeting. All right, sounds good. So our COVID protocol, there is an update, which I'm sure you'll hear about in our general meeting, but we are no longer requiring negative tests to attend. So we do encourage that everyone still gets tested pretty regularly and stays safe, but there's no formal requirement to enter the lab with a negative test now. There was also no more official lab limit, but we do want to emphasize that we are definitely not going to crowd the lab, and especially certain areas. I think with our team and the amount of people with our 2 lab times, we're never really close to that, but just keep that in mind if you're ever in the lab with anyone else. And then masks and signing in and out are still in place as usual. continue to do that. I think you guys have done a good job. But I guess a good note is that there are no more masks in the lab, so make sure you do have one when you do come to the lab, because we can't give you one anymore. Coachella was moved from this Thursday due to inclement weather to next Tuesday, March 1st. We're in desperate need of volunteers. So if you are free anytime between 4 to 9:30 on that Tuesday, then please let me know. I can directly add you to the GroupMe with other volunteers, or you can also let Emily Humble know. She should be on the Discord. And then, yeah, just hopefully everyone can make it out. I highly encourage y'all to attend. I think it'll be a good time. And hopefully we can raise some money for SCR and take care of our competition costs. Yeah. Now moving into analysis stuff, the February progress report is officially complete. Is pending Nikolai's insert of the figures, but feel free to give it a full read through. I would encourage it if you have the time or are interested. I think it's interesting to read the document as a whole rather than bits and parts that you contributed to. But yeah, thank you for all of your hard work. You did an incredible job. I remember my first time writing a progress report. It was nowhere near as good as what y'all have done. So be proud of yourselves. It's some seriously good work. And I guess we can look to build upon that as we move into closer to competition months and these reports become even more and more important in the build up to our full technical report. So it'll follow the same format. So just be prepared to write about your tasks and your thoughts on the team, kind of the same way you did for February. Okay, now FinShape. There was new info gathered thanks to Gustavo, who reached out to the vendor we're looking at buying the carbon fiber sheets from. So we can now input custom material properties instead of selecting a preset material. Will, I know we were having a lot of fun with this and trying to see which carbon fiber would give us the best and worst values. So now we can rerun those sims and hopefully get a much more accurate divergence and flutter velocity. A quick note that we were doing wrong is that we were calculating for divergence or flutter at 4K feet, but after looking through the OpenRocket simulation and the plot, the new altitude at which our max velocity occurs at is around 7,000 feet. So that does help out our calculations, but because of these new entries for the information, I decided it would be best to bump our thickness to 0.3. And that gives us a divergence of around 1900 feet per second for divergence and 3000 for flutter. So our max velocity with that configuration, I think, was around 1770. So we are a little close on the divergence side. I'm not worried about flutter. I think we'll cover that really easily. But yeah, divergence is a little worrying. So maybe we can look at slightly adjusting a few inches here and there, and especially thickness, and playing around with that to see what gives us the best divergence values for that 7K feet altitude.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you get any apogee value with the new thickness, material, altitude?
Yeah, it was so for the spaceport progress report, we assumed regular paint but airfoiled fins, and that gave us 27K with this new setup.
Gotcha. Okay.
0.3-inch fins, yeah. Okay, now the Zenith questions and data sheet is the next kind of project for the validation team, which now is just kind of Will and Amy. But yeah, I linked it on these slides here. I can also send a link later in the Discord, but it's a document with hundreds of questions. I think Gustavo assembled it, so thank you to him. But there's different categories for different sub-teams. These are the general questions, which we should all know pretty easily. But if Will and Amy could get started on analysis in our section, and then start to move on to others, I think that would be great. The whole goal with all of this is or for you guys to gain, I guess everyone, to gain a full understanding of Zenith, and most importantly, prepare for competition. I know it's not possible for all of us to go to competition, and very few of us will actually be going, but I think it's still extremely important for the entire team to kind of be at that competition level of knowledge, just because it will help you out as you plan to hopefully stay involved into the next few years, and also just learn more about our entire mission and what we plan to do. So for the analysis section, I want you guys to also focus on adding justification behind our design choices. So stuff like the nose cone, we can say, we ran these drag force calculations on OpenRocket, and this is why tangent OGAG is the best for our configuration. But if we haven't done any justification for something, then make sure you note that. And then if we have something planned, then note that as well. I think it'll give us a good idea of what we are providing justification for, and also making sure we cover all of our bases. There are quite a few questions. I haven't looked at analysis in our section in depth, but there are quite a few questions overall. So I think the sooner you start working on it, the better, and it should be a fun trip. I think also reaching out to Gustavo or Irvin or any of the sub-team leads about different sections of the report would be beneficial as well. And if this could get done before spring break, that would be ideal. But I know midterms are pretty much all going to be in these next coming weeks before then. So I'm not too worried if we have to push it past then, but I think if we get a good amount done by the spring break, we'll be putting ourselves in a good position. Okay, now the software trade study for the design team. This is something Omar and I actually discussed earlier, as you can see on the date, January 26th. But we were wondering, is FEMAP and NX, or the Siemens software, really the most viable and the most effective software for the team to use for FEA? And I mean, I think based on what we're doing now, we came to the conclusion it's not, which then leaves us with a trade study to complete. I think the scope of the trade study will be determining which software specifically for FEA will be best for not only now, but also the future of the team. So I think taking into consideration criteria such as the ease of learning it, the actual performance or its capability, if we have to pay, then, sorry. Yeah, just taking all those into consideration and really thinking more long-term than just our specific scenario or situation right now. So Omar, Arturo, and Nico, I think it would be a good opportunity. Shouldn't be too long, I think, because you also all have experience using most of these software. And if you guys don't remember, I think Nico mentioned using ANSYS because it was completely free and was able to do some pretty cool things, at least with CFD. So for Nico, I think Omar and Arturo, if you could introduce him to trade studies, what a trade study is, how you complete it, all the little things about a decision matrix, that would be excellent. And because I would like it to be due next week or a week from now, but I wanted to see what y'all's midterm kind of schedule looks like and if that's feasible or something you'd be able to do.
I guess speaking personally, whether, I think if we add in next week's lab time, that'll help a lot. I mean, I guess in regard to midterms, next week's fine. It's just the week after that's tough. But I don't think this will take too long to do. So maybe besides Monday's lab time, I don't know if we all can make that one. If not, I guess we'll just have to try to figure out like another time to meet up. But maybe like, in my opinion, next week, maybe end of the week.
Mhm. Okay, that works.
When is the lab time on Monday again? Sorry.
11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Yeah, I should be able to make that.
Okay, cool. Then let's just see how far you guys get after that lab time. And then from there, we'll decide on an official due date. But yeah, for sure, definitely want it done by next Friday. Now, for you, Nico, talking about CFD projects and what we discussed last week, I kind of split it into 4 different categories, or I guess 4 separate projects. One being validating decisions we've already made, which hopefully you come to the same conclusion that we have with our nose cone and boat tail. So specifically with the nose cone, I think just looking at different profiles and shapes of nose cones that we've considered and running simulations on those would be great. And then the boat tail, as we discussed last week, just looking at comparing the flat base versus that tapered section and the effects it has on our apogee would be great. Now, stuff that we haven't considered or stuff that we want to start looking at are also the surface roughness, as we talked about, and its effects on apogee. Right now are only, I guess, gauge on what the surface roughness, or our gauge on how the surface roughness impacts our apogee is only on Open Rocket. So if we could get more, I guess, concrete and experimental data on that, that would be wonderful. Fin geometry, I'm not sure how effective this would be or what you'd really do with this, but I think it'd be cool to look at, especially if you're looking at the whole rocket. You'll obviously need the updated fins, as Nikolai was talking about. So with these, I know you're new, but we have in the past been writing these things called analysis reports on what you found. It does not need to be that long, just kind of summarizing the findings of your work that you've done and then just putting it all into one document. I think figures and obviously the important and relevant data are the key things to include. I believe there's still a template on the drive, which you can check out and then kind of mold to fit each thing that you're doing. But for, I think, more about the team and more about this in particular, if we could find a time to talk one-on-one and then kind of figure out your role within analysis and SCR, that would be great, because I know it's been kind of a little rough just coming into the team mid-semester. So I'll try my best to introduce you to kind of how we operate and what I expect from you and what you can expect from me, if possible.
Yeah, I'm usually free on Tuesdays and Thursdays after like 11, after capstone. So if anytime you want to set up a meeting, that'll be fine.
Okay, sounds good. I think we'll have to look at next week because Thursday I have my FEM exam, so don't want to do it right before then. But yeah, I'll get in contact with you and then we can set up a time. But that's all I had for today. Any questions from anyone about anything at all?
So I was gonna ask for if we're gonna run aerodynamics on ANSYS, do we have CADs of all of these things?
Yes, I think the only thing that still in development is the fins, which Nikolai is now working on. Should be, I mean, everything else is there. I think just talking to Nikolai about where it's at. Can you import SolidWorks files into ANSYS?
Yeah, it's one of the easiest to import. We could import the parts alone, but I think aside from like the nose cone, because we could compare all of those if we just like do the nose cones. But for the other parts, it would be better if we have like an assembly and like assemblies with different, like an assembly with a different shape of fin and like stuff like that, and we could compare them really easy.
Okay, yeah, that'll be good. I think Jacob and Christian were working on different nose cone CADs when we were still considering different shapes. So I'm not sure if we have different shape nose cone CADs. But if not, then I guess Nikolai can help you work on those before you assemble it in ANSYS. Yeah. Anybody else? Anything at all? All right. And I'll stop sharing and stop recording. Thank you for coming, everyone. Appreciate it.